NBA analysts at Bleacher Report have proposed multiple trades for the New York Knicks in order to make them a better team in the 2024-2025 season. Some of them are guys who Leon Rose is known to be targeting, and we are going to break it down. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here. But before we get into that, are you trying to kick a bad habit to the curb? Because if so, then you have to check out Fume. Have you heard that the flavored air category is quickly becoming the leading alternative to vaping and smoking? It's a whole new movement towards better habits, led by the sponsor of today's video, Fume. Fume has a lot of delicious flavors to choose from crisp mint to cinnamon hearts. They have a flavor just for you. And with flavored air, you can satisfy your oral fixation through a passive diffusion system that utilizes no electronics, no vapor, and no combustion. Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you can be their next success story. So guys, for a limited time only, use our code DIGEST to get a free topper. It's the perfect accessory to your Fume device. Slip it onto the mouthpiece for a softer, warmer feel. It's chewable for those who love to fidget, and it's also reusable. So guys, head to tryfume.com. That is tryfum.com and use code DIGEST or scan this QR code right here to get your free Fume topper when you order your Journey Pack today. So once again, that is tryfum.com. Use code DIGEST, free topper. It's a can't miss situation. But let's get into the video. Going into the 2025 season, the New York Knicks have one glaring problem, which is the fact that their big man situation is a little bit iffy if they lose Mitchell Robinson due to an injury. Something that has happened in the past and wouldn't be the most shocking thing if it happened once again. But it's also the fact that we're not sure if Precious Achiuwa is going to be a backup center. We've talked about this so much. So when Bleacher Report talked about a bunch of different trade targets for the New York Knicks, they proposed the same thing over and over again, which was big men. Now, one of them is Walker Kessler, who we've talked about so much in the recent days that we're going to blow right through that one. Real quick to mention it again, I love the idea of Walker Kessler. It would probably cost us Deuce McBride in the first, maybe a second rounder also, because Danny Ainge is Danny Ainge. It would be an interesting trade to make. There's some argument to do it. Also, I love Deuce. I'd rather them not trade him if they could get away with it. They might want Tyler Kolek instead. It's unclear. Definitely would be pricey, but could have a huge effect. However, other trade targets have come down, and one of them is Karl Anthony Towns, the guy who it feels like I have never stopped making videos about since starting Knicks Digest. And as Bleacher Report mentions, the combination of Mitch and Achiuwa is okay, but Mitch has only played over 59 games once in the last 4 years, and Towns has been a long-rumored target of Leon Rose and the Knicks, and was born an hour away from Madison Square Garden. A starting lineup of Brunson, Bridges, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, and Karl Anthony Towns would rival the Celtics for the best in the NBA. So I guess in this situation, guys, Julius Randle gets traded to the Timberwolves or something, or, died. In all seriousness, on the Timberwolves side of things, they did mention Julius as a premier trade target for them. So they're definitely going with they traded Julius also. But I guess you're trading Julius and Mitch in this situation, which I just heavily disagree with. But also, this is not the first time we've heard about Karl Anthony Towns and the Knicks. Far from it. As Ian Begley mentioned this June, the Knicks will always have a degree of interest in Towns. The NBA, like most entities, is a relationship business. Leon Rose is Towns' former agent, and him and William Wesley are close with Towns and his family, and also Senior Vice President of Basketball Operations Garrison Rosas ran the Timberwolves during Towns' tenure. Towns is very interconnected with the Knicks, and the argument for going for him is that he puts up 22 points per game, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, plays no defense, but shoots 416% from 3, over 50% from the field, over 40% on corner threes, over 41%. Obviously, most of those threes, he's a phenomenal catch-and-shoot player. He's one of the best catch-and-shoot players in the NBA. There's a reason he won the three-point contest. And he does shoot a good amount of threes, but also can work it in the mid-range and in the paint. And look, I don't love the fit of Towns. I just don't. I'm not a big fan of it, especially in a lineup like this. I'm not the biggest fan of it. Trading Randle and Mitch for Towns just seems kind of foolish to me because, well, I do think Julius is better than Karl Anthony Towns, and he's certainly better for this Knicks team. Now, if Towns were to just metabolize on the Knicks and they still had Mitch, it would be interesting because the Knicks, like the Timberwolves, can cover for Towns' defensive lapses. But again, it means you're trading Julius, and financially, you have to trade Mitch anyway. And I don't think a Tom Thibodeau defense works with Towns as the center, as we've seen in the past. Even if you have McHale and OG, you're still really then banking on OG guarding big men more often. And having McHale and OG is a team that's built to counteract the Celtics the way the Timberwolves were built to counteract the Nuggets. You're not counteracting the Celtics if OG Anunoby doesn't have the chance to guard Jason Tatum. It completely defeats the purpose whatsoever. So I don't think this is the best idea to go for Towns. I also don't think they need to make this big of a splash. It doesn't make the most sense to me. But there was another guy named who I think does make more sense, who we actually have talked about a bit before, but we're going to jump back into it. As Bleacher Report mentioned, veteran center Jonas Valanciunas got his money and will almost certainly be moved to a contender before the February 6th deadline. The Knicks could use his rebounding, screening, and toughness either as a starter or a backup to Robinson. Well, certainly a backup. They could trade Precious Achiuwa. Valanciunas was making exactly $9 million per year, so the Knicks could trade Precious. And then they also have to figure out a way to move some more money because Precious only makes $6 million. They need to get $9 million out of there. So that also would mean Jericho Sims and probably someone else. It would be kind of tough to do. You might be able to work it with just Precious and Sims now that I think about it. Depends on where the Knicks stand in the apron rules. Also, you could just move Keita Bates-Diop and take someone back who's a little cheaper and then problem solved. So you can make this trade work, don't get me wrong. It's then, are you willing to move Precious and Sims and Keita for Jonas Valanciunas? Like, I don't know if that's the greatest idea when the Wizards are going to be wanting picks in return. I actually like Jonas's fit, but not everyone does. I kind of sound like I said Giannis. As Fred Katz mentioned, he's not obsessed with Valanciunas' hypothetical fit with the Knicks, though he's a big body, and the Knicks could use another one of those. He wouldn't advise them to acquire someone only because he's 7 feet tall. Valanciunas is a beast on the boards and can step out for the occasional three-pointer. Still, he's not a Tibbs-style center. He's not deterring drivers from the basket. His impact last season never quite matched his counting stats. And speaking of his stats, Valanciunas did put up 12 points and 9 rebounds per game with none other than the New Orleans Pelicans. He was a perfect fit next to Zion Williamson for a team that didn't really care about low post defense at all or rim protection whatsoever. Because Valanciunas cannot protect the rim, it's just not something that he does at a high rate. He's 32 right now. The Knicks would have him under contract till he's 35 if they made the move. He can hit threes. Not to say he's a good three-point shooter, only 31% from deep. Obviously, he's there to shoot at the top of the key, and he only shoots 16% of his shots behind the arc anyway. He does give you some more mid-range space. It does create spacing for the Knicks, and then that's when you use OG against big men in situations like this, while you also have Mitchell Robinson on the roster. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It's interesting. It's nice to have some contrast between your centers. Fred Katz isn't wrong. Like, at the end of the day, you know, Tibbs wants a center who's going to play defense. So I don't exactly know if that's going to work out, especially because Precious played phenomenal defense on Joel Embiid, showing he can hang with really any center in the NBA because whatever he lacks in size, he makes up for toughness, and Bam Adebayo does the same thing after all. So it's one of those things where at the end of the day, you just think about Precious and you just go to the Precious propaganda. Couldn't think of a better way to end this video. Guys, like, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Make sure you're on the Precious propaganda train, regardless if it gets traded or not. Have a great day. I have a live stream coming out at 6:30 today. Make sure to tune in. It'll be a great time. Go Knicks.